All right, so today we're going to do geometric mean. And just a reminder, today is the last day of my birth week. So you can put all the presents on my desk that you brought, right? Just kidding. All right, but for real, geometric mean. So you're going to see something like this on your test, okay? Now, the top part of your notes is like this. It's not going to say ABC, but I'm going to tell you the rule, okay? So is everyone looking up here? Once you get the rule, piece of cake. No pun intended, because it's still my birth week, right? Cake. But no one brought me cake. But I forgive you. All right. So here's the deal. Whenever you look at this right triangle, this is called an altitude. Altitude. All right. And then, so B would be my altitude. And then I have a long side segment. And then I have a short side segment. Okay? Now, these right triangles are actually what we call similar. Now, we've learned what similar means. Same shape, but the size is different. Same shape, different size. Okay? So, if you can imagine this big triangle, if I were to rotate it, it would be the exact same triangle as this triangle right here. Okay? So, these two triangles are similar. Okay? So, all I did was I rotated the big one. So when I rotate the big one and I look at them, y'all remember when we did similar triangles, I connected my sides. So this is going to give me two fractions. Okay? So again, take the big half of the triangle, rotate it. They're similar. Connect the lines, and I'm going to make two fractions. Okay? I'm going to go from big to small. So A over B equals B over C. Or another way to think about it, if you're not going to see A, B, and C on there, okay? But you are going to see a long, an altitude, and a short, okay? On any of those triangles, you can tell which one's long, which one's short, which one's the altitude, right? So here's the other way to think about it. The long side segment over the altitude equals the altitude over the short segment. So when we do geometric mean, we're basically doing some similar triangles, making two proportions, and then cross multiply and divide. So let's try an example down here. Does anyone still need this? Gonna move it down. What? Gonna move it down a little bit. Actually, I'm not gonna move it down. Let's leave it right there. Look at this first example right here. Okay. So remember, my little rule is long over altitude equals altitude over short. So what is the long side segment? 12. So 12 over, what's the altitude? X. Equals, and then you're going to use X again, because the altitude again, over the short, which is 3. Okay? Now, this might or might not help you, but when you're making your fractions, it's this over this equals this over this. Those are your two fractions, okay? Long to altitude equals altitude to short. Don't get that second one mixed up, though, okay? It's long to altitude, altitude to short. If you can set up those two fractions, the next step is just do the right algebra. And I will show you the right algebra. Okay? So we know when we see two fractions equal to each other, we got to do cross multiply, and then divide. So let's cross multiply. 12 times 3 is 36. Great. And then x times x. Any number times itself means you are doing what to it? Squaring it. Okay, so anytime it's x times x, you've got to know that's x squared. Little 2 on top, right? Now, is the answer 36? No, it's not. Remember, you cannot have the little squared. And how do we get rid of a square? The opposite of square is, check this out, square root. This is my square root sign. You got a square root sign? Can you do this? All right. So 36 equals x squared. So we are going to square root. Now you can do a factor tree, but maybe you know what the square root of 36 is off the top of your head. Do you? 6. Because 6 times 6 is 36. So guess what? Our final answer, the missing sideling, is 6. Was that super hard? Hopefully not. Let's do another example. I want you to notice, on this next one off to the right, x is not in the altitude now. X is on the side. All right, so this one, I'm going to move it down now. We want to remember our little formula. Long over altitude equals altitude over short. So remember, I'm doing 5 over 4 equals 4 over x. So let's do that. 5 over 4 equals 4 over x. Half the problem is setting it up. You got Whataburger too? Everyone's got Whataburger, except for me. All right, so we got two fractions, and now we cross multiply and divide. All right, so 5 times x, 5x. 4 times 4. What's 4 times 4? 16. Now I have one last step. I'm not going to square root this time because I don't have an x squared, right? But I do have a 5x. How do I get rid of that 5? Division. It's a coefficient. We have to divide. So divided by 5, we're going to have to get a decimal. So let's take it to the calculator. 16 divided by 5. Okay, now if this happens to you, I want you to retype it, 16 divided by 5, but hit Control Enter. Okay, 3.2. Okay, easy or hard? Hopefully it's easy, right? We'll do 2 more examples together, and then the back side is all yours. So let's do this one in red. Okay, now what was my ratios? Long over altitude equals altitude over short. So long over altitude equals altitude over short. 7 over x equals x over 4. Right? And then we cross multiply. 7 times 4? 28. Equal sign. X times x? X squared. Is 28 my answer? No. Because we got to get rid of the square by doing the, watch it, square root. Alright, so the square root of 28. Now, on this worksheet, it doesn't really say. I don't mind if you give me a decimal. Well, let's go crazy and make a little factor tree. Let's see if we can do that, right? Remember how to do this? 28 is 2 times 14. 14 is 2 times 7. 7 is prime. Pair 2. I've seen people get mixed up on which one goes where. So the 2 goes out or stays in. What do you think? Out. Okay, remember, pairs, like a couple, they're going out on a date. to the left. Okay, so the 2 out, square root of 7 in. Of course, if you type it in the calculator, you'll get your decimal, which is fine today, but you might want to get some practice doing this because you still need to know how to do that. All right, last one over here on the notes. Long over altitude equals altitude over small. So 9 over x equal sign x over 5. 9 times 5 is 45 equals x times x is x squared. We can't have the squared, so we have to square root. Let's do a little factor tree. 3 times 15 is 45. 3 times 5 is 15. Pair of 3. So 3 square root sign 5 is my answer. You could also type it in the calculator to get a decimal. That's fine. Okay. Now on this side of the notes, if you're looking at up here, green, just remember how to do these, okay? I showed you 3 where x was the altitude. I showed you 1 where x is the missing segment. You're going to have half and half. So again, if x is a missing segment, you're not square rooting, you're dividing, okay? So this one is important. Yeah, I should pick this up. Okay, so this one is the different one. Make sure you pay attention to how I did that, okay? So you flip it over, you do 6 of these on your own, you're thinking, not too hard, and that's great. But if and when you finish, look at me, when you finish, everything on this whiteboard needs to be done. I have not graded yet, or put in the grade book, trig or inverse trig. You've got to do inverse trig and trig, okay? And if you've done all that, and you need to finish your retake quiz, let me know. If you've done all that, and you want to do the extra credit bonus extension problems next to the turn-in bin, that's great. Monday and Tuesday, we're going to review for our test on Wednesday, okay? So go ahead and knock out geometric mean, all right?